Well, welcome to 2021, L.L.Bean. It's an honor to be here to share with you, just in our short time together, some motivation, some positivity, and some hope. And so I just want to jump right into this presentation. I want to share with you my personal affirmation, one that I've used for many years and one that I especially used in this past year. And that's, I'm too blessed to be stressed. As I share with you during this short presentation, a part of my story of overcoming cancer, one of the greatest lessons I learned is that in life, as you all know, as this past year showed us, we can't always choose what happens to us, but we can always choose how we respond to it. And I realized the reality that what you focus on in life is what you get back. One of my favorite quotes is by a gentleman, T. Harv Eckert, and he said, "Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and your results show." And I think sometimes, at least in my life, if I'm not careful, I can get caught up in all the negativity, all the fear. And I want to share something with you, a metaphor. I used to live in California. I live in Tampa, Florida now, but when I lived in California, there were these race car driving schools. And one of the things they taught you is what to do when you spin out of control. And they told you, don't focus on the wall, but focus where you want to go on the track. Once again, where you place your attention, where you place your focus, that's where you'll end up. And so I want to share something with you right off the bat before we jump into some of these slides I prepared for you, is what I call a little golden nugget of wisdom. And it's this: the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. Let me repeat that. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. I think so many people, they focus on the stress. So many people focus on the walls in life, the negativity. And so I want to encourage you in 2021, encourage you beyond for the rest of your life to become what I call a solutionist, someone who's solution oriented, not problem focused. And you become that by asking the simple question, what's the solution? You see, so many people, they ask the question, what's the problem? And the most powerful computer we have is our mind. And what we ask, we will receive. So if we're asking the question, what's the problem? All we'll see is the problem. And I think that's one reason the success of L.L.Bean. And you know the story and how it happened because this culture of being a solutionist, asking this question, what's the solution? Now I want to jump into this presentation. Just want to lay some groundwork, just lay some opening foundation. And so once again, I encourage you, because one of the greatest challenges I faced in life wasn't the cancer. And I believe going forward, one of the greatest challenges we'll face in 2021 or the coming years, and personally, I don't like that word challenge. I like to call them character building experiences. But the biggest challenge you or I will face are our limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, the self-defeating inner dialogue. One of the reasons why I wore my smiley hat for this presentation is because I just think right now there just seems to be a lot of fear, a lot of negativity. And one of my philosophies in life, I would say my key philosophy that allowed me to overcome cancer 3 times. At one point, it spread to the fluid in my brain. I was told by my doctor, who I nicknamed Dr. Doom, because how many of us have these Dr. Dooms in our life? These are the people that brighten the whole room as soon as they leave. But she told me a less than 10% chance of living to the age of 30. And last year, I turned 42. You see, the reality is in life, there are a lot of people, a lot of Dr. Dooms. I call them the dream busters. All they can do is see the walls, the negativity, the stress. And that's why I want to begin by laying this foundation of the importance of your self-talk. Research shows the majority of people, up to 80% of their thoughts are negative. Too blessed to be stressed. So I prepared this, and I've shared this many times over the past year, because I think, once again, it's so important to realize how good life is and how truly blessed we are. So I call it your Life Blessings Daily Bank Account. And I only included 3 things. But check this out. If you look on the screen, the average person every day, over 100,000 heartbeats. And I think you would agree, every single heartbeat's a blessing. Every single day, we're given 86,400 seconds. And the average person every single day, over 23,000 breaths. Now, that's just 3 blessings. And I know you have more in your life, but for this illustration, for this example, if we just add up those 3 blessings, that totals over 209,400 blessings every single day. And yet, how easy it is to get caught in a funk? How easy is it to get down and depressed? Because once again, when that happens, focusing on the negative versus the positive. Now, check this out. So I add this line. If you have just 5 people, and I know there's more, but just for illustrational purposes, 5 people you love, you care about, 209,400 times 5 is over 1 million blessings every single day. Wow, it's great to be alive. So I'm a big quote guy. I absolutely love quotes. And this is one of my favorite quotes. It says this: at birth, we are given the greatest gift, life. And as our first birthday present, we are presented with a fantastic world in which to live. I don't know about you, but 2020, there were some ups and downs and surprising turns. And then 2021 came along, and in a sense, it feels like we're still in 2020. But ultimately, that doesn't matter. And that's why I love this quote, to remind us how great it is to be alive. If you would, please, take a big deep breath in and breathe out. How big a check would you write for that? So here, once again, the slide shows my philosophy in life: lighten up, don't tighten up. There was a study done, and it found that the average 4-year-old laughs or smiles up to 400 times a day. And here's a picture of me. There I am at 4 years old, trying to get the same smile, right? And there I am with my sister, Joanna. I just love this picture because it illustrates this principle. If you have children, or if you've ever seen a child, you know this to be true. But unfortunately, by the age of 30, that number, once again, the average 4-year-old laughs or smiles 400 times a day. But by the time they reach the age of 30, that number drops to 15. Yikes. Here's a quote, another quote, Patch Adams. And you may have seen the movie played by Robin Williams. And Patch Adams was this doctor who believed in laughter therapy. And he said this: laughter boosts the immune system. It helps the body fight off disease, cancer cells, as well as viral, bacterial, and other infections. Being happy is the best cure of all diseases. And we all know right now, it's important to have a strong immune system. And one of the fastest, easiest, cheapest ways to do that is to laugh and smile more. And what I found, and research backs this up, one of the areas that I study and research is positive psychology. And positive psychology asks the question, what's the good life? It studies people who've overcome just the insurmountable odds. And what they find is when you're happy, when you smile, it puts you in a positive state to see more possibilities. When you're happy, when you become a person of high hope, you're more resilient, you bounce back, you're more flexible. Now, here's a quick study by Cigna, and it shows the 5 health benefits of laughter. Just real quickly, I'll go through this because of time. But here's the first one. Helps the heart, helps relieve pain, decrease depression. Number 3. Number 4 is my favorite. It helps burns calories. So if you laugh enough, you can do laughter exercise. And then number 5, several studies it shows it boosts the immune system. Now, I want to switch gears just a tad bit and to one of the great philosophers of our time, the Cookie Monster. I grew up on Sesame Street. How many grew up on Sesame Street, right? And the Cookie Monster says this: today, me will live in the moment, unless it's unpleasant, in which case me will eat a cookie. I think the reason why the average 4-year-old laughs or smiles 400 times a day because they're in the moment. And what happens as we get older, we get caught up in the imagined future. You may have heard this acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real. And the reality is most of the things that we fear never happens. Now that's an acronym. I want to give you a definition of fear. And a definition of fear is an anticipation of pain. This anticipation comes in the future. The reality is fear is an illusion that happens in the future. I'll give you an example. I would like you to raise your hand tomorrow. It's not possible. You can't raise your hand tomorrow because tomorrow never comes. And so laying this foundation of the message I'm sharing with you today is to lighten up, don't tighten up, by being in the moment. And the reality is the only thing we ever have is this moment. In the moment, for the moment, feel the moment, be the moment. Don't let the stresses of the future make you miss out on the blessings of the present. So I just wanted to lay that foundation. And now I want to transition. And I want to share with you 3 simple choices. 3 simple choices that you can use to stay motivated in the marathon of uncertainty. 3 simple choices that you can use to overcome any challenges you face. 3 simple choices you can use to achieve the victories and to cross the marathons that you want to cross in your life. 3 simple choices that allowed me from going to being a 3-time cancer conqueror. There I was first diagnosed with cancer my senior year of college. At one point, I had to go through full body radiation. There I am. There, this next picture, I'm with my dad getting ready to go through a bone marrow transplant. Whew, lighten up, don't tighten up. At one point, it spread to the fluid in my brain. That's when Dr. Doom told me less than 10% chance of living to the age of 30. They put a special device in my head to administer the chemotherapy, and that's the bandage there. And due to complications, Valentine's Day 2004, I slipped to unconscious state, and I had to relearn how to walk. Not only relearn how to walk, at one point, I couldn't even tie my shoes. And I went on from there to complete 8 marathons on 8 continents. And the very first one was the San Diego Rock and Roll. Second one was in Rome. Third one was in Tokyo, Perth, Australia. I did one with my buddy in Cape Town, Africa. Went on and did a marathon in Antarctica. And then here's one in Chile. And then in 2017, you may or may not have heard of this. They had some new laser technology and they discovered this hidden continent called Zealandia. And 94% of it's underneath the water, and pretty much the only part above water is New Zealand. And so 2018, I did a Queenstown, New Zealand, just to make sure, because my goal was to do a marathon on every continent. And I share that not to impress you, but to impress upon you what's possible for you from these 3 simple choices I'm going to share with you. There's an American philosopher, Ernest Holmes, who said, if someone else has done it, you can do it. And the proof that I'm still here, having cancer in my brain, it's possible that whatever challenge you face, not only can you overcome it, you can thrive through it. And the fact that I had this crazy goal, this crazy dream of running these marathons, I mean, won every continent and did it, is proof what's possible for you. And so I want to encourage you, before we go into these 3 simple choices, I want you to think of a wow. What's a wow that you want to achieve in 2021? And here's the thing, you think of this wow, I don't want you to worry about the how, just focus on the now. Because here's what I realized. Ultimately in life, it's not what you know, it's what you do. You see, we have a thought, and that thought creates a feeling, and our feelings create an action. And ultimately, it's the action that leads to the manifestation of the goals, the dreams, the victories we want to achieve. Okay, let's get into these 3 choices. So choice number 1, you got to visualize your victory. There's a timeless truth that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Let me share you an example. So in college, and I'm originally from Kansas, I went to a small college in Emporia State University in Emporia, Kansas, and I was into bodybuilding. I was a certified personal trainer, and my hero was Arnold. I want to move to California, get pumped up. But you all know, sometimes life has other plans. And I began the fall semester, something wasn't right. I was sleeping all the time, a sore throat. I thought I had mono. Went to the doctor, got tested. The results came back negative. He said, Matt, we've got to run some more tests. You're free to go home. A little bit after 1 o'clock, 9/11/2002, my phone rang. It was my doctor. He said, Matt, we got some good news and some bad. You're sicker than we thought. And then he says those 3 words no one wants to hear. You have cancer. Now, because of my positive attitude, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to need a brain transplant. Because when it spread in my brain. And then he said this. And here is the message I want to give to you today. You see, there's a quote, one of my favorite quotes, that every adversity, every heartache, every failure carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And Dr. McNamara said this, Matt, here's the good news. You can beat this. And it's possible. Choice number 1, visualize your victory. Now, I want to give you an equation, one of the most important lessons I learned from this experience. And for each choice, we're going to give you an equation. And the first one is C plus P equals R. Your circumstances plus your perception equals your reality. You see, what I discovered that senior year of college is that we can't always control our circumstances, but we can always choose our perception. And ultimately, it is our perception of our circumstances that create our reality. Of course, when I first heard those 3 words, you have cancer, my reality was this is the worst thing ever. But what happened was my life changed when I met a nurse named Nurse Ginger, and she told me about her sister who also had cancer and beat it. And her sister said, cancer is one of the greatest blessings of her life. And when I first heard that, I was like, your sister's crazy. There's nothing good with cancer. But she planted a seed of victory in my mind. And I remember laying in that hospital bed in 2002 in St. Francis in Topeka, Kansas. And at first I asked this question. Remember when I said earlier, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. And at first I asked, why me? Life's not fair. And then everything changed when I asked a different question. I asked this: what's the good that can come from the bad? And that's when I visualized a victory, that someday, somehow, somewhere, for someone, some good would come from my experience. And even though this is pre-recorded, I know this, that someone watching, hearing this, their life is being changed. Because that is the power and the magic when you visualize your victory. And when you visualize your victory, I want to encourage you, set your intention and make it your attention, because what you focus on in life is what you get back. So here, very practical. I want you to think in the next 90 days, what's one victory you want to achieve? Now, here's what I realized. If all I would have done was laid in my hospital bed visualizing my victory, at one point when I had to relearn how to walk, I had this victory. I wanted to do a marathon. It never would have happened. And so I want to encourage you, the victory that you want to achieve, step 2 is you got to take action. One of my favorite quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and his holiday is just coming up around the corner. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. How do you run a marathon? One step at a time. How do you achieve the victories you want to achieve? One step at a time. So let's give you the formula. Here's the formula to achieve anything. S plus E equals A. Skill plus effort equals achievement. Now, I want to give you a great book. This might be your action strategy. It's called Grit by Angela Duckworth. Angela Duckworth, Grit. There's also a TED Talk video if you're more audio or visual. Positive psychology. Research shows the #1 predictor of success is grit, that tenacity. You get knocked down 7 times, you get back 8. I call it that Rocky Balboa mentality. I know this from your test, and there I am, had to learn how to walk. Comes your testimony, crossing the finish line in Antarctica. I didn't even know they had marathons in Antarctica, but that's the power when you visualize your victory, when you set that intention and you make it your attention, and when you take action. 10-3-1. Real quickly, here's a practical strategy. When you look at the victory you want to achieve, write down 10 action steps. Then circle 3, then pick the one thing to take action on. So the question becomes, that victory you want to achieve, what's one action step you can take today? And after you take that one action step, you take another one. My first goal after relearning how to walk, I'm in the hospital and I have this victory running a marathon. My goal was to take one step. And after I took one step by myself, my goal was to make it down the hospital hallway and back. And 2 years and 4 months after visualizing my victory, and 2 years and 4 months after taking action, I made to my very first marathon. Choice number 3, you got to elevate your attitude. William James, he's considered the father of professional psychology in America, and he said this: the greatest discovery of our generation is that we can alter our lives by altering the attitudes of our mind. So let me give you one more formula here. And the formula is this: F plus T plus W equals L. The feelings you feel, the thoughts you think, and the words you speak determine the life you live. Why? Because they make up your perception, which ultimately determines your reality. One of my favorite all-time quotes, Charles Swindoll said, the single most significant decision you and I can make on a daily basis is our choice of attitude. So let me ask you this: how can you elevate your attitude on a daily basis? Once again, one of the things that I do is positive self-talk. And that's why I began this chat with my affirmation: I'm too blessed to be stressed. Another one I use is, I'm too grateful to be hateful. Here's another one I want to give to you. I can't fail. I can only learn and grow. One more. I give so much time to improving myself, I have no time to criticize others. So we're coming down the final stretch. I want to share with you the greatest finish line I crossed. And that was Mother's Day 2004. And here's my mom and me a couple years ago. And my mom echoed the words of Abraham Lincoln: everything I am, everything I hope to be, I owe to my dear angel mom. And on Mother's Day 2004, I was recovering from a successful bone marrow transplant. And the doctor walked into my room, Dr. Ganguly. We fired Dr. Doom. And he said, Matt, you get to go home. And the first thing I did was I picked up the telephone. I called my mom and I said, Mom, happy Mother's Day. I get to go home. And she said, Matt, this is the greatest Mother's Day gift ever. Now, because the cancer spread the fluid in my brain, even though the bone marrow transplant was successful, they wanted to do some follow-up chemotherapy. And what that meant was for 10 months, once a month, there was chemo in my brain. So, of course, you have to weigh the pluses and minuses, the side effects. And I had 9 treatments and everything was looking great. So I asked my doctor, I said, Doc, do I really need this last treatment? What's the medical literature say? And he said, Matt, there is no medical literature. There's never been someone who had what you had be here a year later. And I said, well, Doc, keep doing what you're doing. And sometimes I wonder, why me? Why have I been so blessed to wake up today, so blessed to take a breath in and a breath out? And the reason why I'm so blessed is the reason why you're so blessed. And I want to wrap this up with what I call the ultimate choice. And that's the choice to serve. And just think of the difference you're making through L.L.Bean, through your unique talents and gifts to bring joy and happiness and make a difference in the life of others. And so I want to close this with one last quote. This is by Albert Schweitzer, and he says this: I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the ones among you who will really be happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. So I encourage you, go out in 2021, visualize your victory, take action, elevate your attitude, and above all, serve. And let's spread kindness and love and happiness to the world. Thank you.